Well, hello. Today we're going to be doing some work in Adobe Lightroom 5 and also taking the work through and bringing it into Adobe Photoshop CS6 to do some little finishing touches. So we've already got Lightroom open, so I'm going to bring Lightroom up. Now in Lightroom at the moment we are in the library. So I'm just going to look in the library, just going to look at one or two pictures. I think I'm going to do an edit on maybe, let's have a quick look. I think we'll do an edit on this one. So we'll bring this into the develop module. These are raw files. Let's just open the develop module up. As you can see, it's just opening up. And there it is now in Lightroom 5's raw module. So along this side here, you've got all the controls. Your temperature control. This is your white balance. If you take it across to an area and pick an area, it'll give you a white balance, something near correct. So what we're going to do now, I think the exposure is about, so just take the exposure down, about correct. Take the highlights down a little bit. Shadow detail, so you can pull a little bit of shadow detail up. At this point I think what we're going to do now, we're going to get a little bit of clarity, give it a little bit of clarity. Again, Control key and plus. Just bring it up a little bit larger so we can see a little bit of detail. So take that down a little bit. So it's going to pull the clarity up just a little bit. Maybe the vibrance up just a wee touch, just a little bit. At this moment in time, I'm going to see if I can get a little bit more depth to the green. So I'm going to go into the green, give it a little bit more saturation. If we pull the luminance down, it should darken the greens off a little bit. Go into the yellow. Just take the yellow up a little bit. A bit more depth to that colour. Right, so I'm reasonably happy with how that looks at the moment. So yes, but before I take it into Lightroom, before I take it into Photoshop, I'm going to reduce the sharpening down to 0. If I just take the sharpening fully up, you'll see the effect of the sharpening. Or I'm going to take the sharpening down to 0. I want to sharpen it in Photoshop. So now I'm going to take my mouse into the middle of the picture, right mouse button click and go Edit, Edit in Photoshop. Now this will now open up in Photoshop. I want to edit a copy of the Lightroom adjustments. And it should pop up in Photoshop shortly. You can hear my PC working overtime there, bringing it in. So now it's coming over and it's going to open up in Photoshop. So this is now opened up in Photoshop with a few little edits which we did in Lightroom. We just did a little bit of the green and a little bit of the yellow, get a little bit more depth, give it a little bit more clarity. So I'm just going to press Control key and plus and just enlarge it a little bit so we can see what we're working with. Then if you hold your shift key down, if you hold your space bar key down, you'll notice it turns to a hand. So if you press your space bar, you can pull the picture about by that. Let go of your space bar. So any area you want to have a look at, if you just grab the space bar and drag it into the area. I'm just going to reduce it a little bit, Control minus, and pull it, space bar, and pull it back into the middle. Now I'm going to do a little crop with this. So I'm going to go to my cropping tool and I'm going to bring it in a little bit. I'm just going to reduce again, Control minus. I'm going to reduce this to maybe a square crop this time. So I cropped it a little bit like a square. And at this point, if you move your cursor out the area, and you'll see a curved double arrow symbol. If you just drag it, you'll see that it'll move your subject around. But we're going to keep it square. So I'm just going to hit key there, crop, and that'll lock the crop in. Now what we're going to do now, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit and just have a look to see what we've got. You might consider that as a spot or a mark, or even that as spot or a mark or a blemish. So we can go into here, pick up the spot healing brush, come over here, and you can see it's too small at the moment. So if we go down to this here, it's size 6. We're going to take it up a little bit. That's a little bit more, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, I think that's fine. So I'm just going to click down here to remove it. Now if I go into this area now here, just put a little click on it. You see, it'll remove them. They could be blemishes on skin, scratches. And what we're going to do now, we're going to drag it down that little scratch there, across there, and let go. And you see it's removed that little scratch there. So you can do as little or as much as you like. And now what we're going to do now, we're going to put a little bit of a border around it, and this is how we do the borders. So we go to Image, Canvas Size. You'll be presented this canvas size box. I'm going to change this to 1 millimeter. So that's 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter. And if I just click on this box here, you get a colour picker come up. Now I want the black, so I'm going to go down there, press OK, and now in that box now, that's the colour we're going to put around a little border in 1 millimeter. So I press the OK button, and lo and behold, a little black box appears around there. I want to put a little white box around there now, so I'm going to go back into Image, Canvas Size, and this time I'm going to go centimetres and 1 centimetre. So we go 1 centimetre, 1 centimetre. I'm going to pick the colour picker again, hit that little black box, and this time I'm going to go for pure white. So I'm going to go to the top corner there until it's OK, and then press OK, and then we've got our little white box around it. Let's take it a little step further now. I'm going to go back into Image, Canvas Size, and this time we're going to go millimetres again, and I'm going to go 1 millimetre, 1 millimetre, and the colour checker, I'll click that, and this time instead of picking one here, I'm going to pick a colour from here, and as you see as you ride over here, you'll get the colour checker, and if we pick a colour and we ride it around, you can see what colours it will be, and I'm going to pick a nice bright colour down there and tick OK, press OK, and this time there's a little green border around there, maybe a little bit difficult to see at the moment with this grey backdrop. You can change it if you so wish, and then go back to Image, Canvas Size. I'm going to go centimetres. This time I'm going to go 3 centimetres, 3 centimetres, 3 centimetres. Pick the colour checker, pick up the white, press OK, press OK, and there we've got a white border around it. Now if you was putting that picture onto Facebook now and it was presented onto a white background like this, a light, very light background like that, sometimes it can be difficult to define the edge. So what we're going to do, go back to a dark grey, go back to our light grey one, we're going to put a little tiny fine black line around there, because if it's on Facebook, you present it on Facebook on a white background, you not see the edge of it. So we'll go back in here, go back into Canvas Size, go back into millimetres, and go back to a very small, so it's 0.25 of a millimetre, 0.25 of a millimetre, and this time we're going to go black. So take it down to black, tell it OK, then press OK, and it'll put a fine black line around there. So when you come to put that picture onto Facebook, it should stand out. It should stand out quite nice. Now what we're going to do now, we're going to sharpen this picture. Excuse me. We're going to sharpen this picture, but we're going to sharpen it a different way. What we're going to do, we're going to go to this background layer, right mouse button click, and put duplicate layer. And we're going to put on here high pass. High pass. Press your return key. And now that layer there says high pass in it, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to pass this through a high pass filter to shorten it. So on that layer there, when that's your background layer, this is your high pass layer, top layer. What we're going to now put a sharpening layer on. So we're going to go into filter, other, high pass. Now you'll see now that it's turned to grey. Now if you take that to 0, nothing's going to be sharpened. Take that all the way to the fully, everything's going to be sharpened. We don't want that. What we want to do, we want to take it back to 0 and just bring it in till we can see the lines appear. Lines appear, and it gets a little bit too fuzzy. You can Control plus to bring it up a little bit till it goes a little bit too much. Just keep inching it up a little bit, and you can see now we're starting to lose the detail, so just inch it back a little bit and press OK. So now what we've got the high pass filter applied to the top of the picture, but that's no good because we need to put that on top of the picture now. So what we do, we go to this blending mode here, what's this normal, overlay, and by magic it's become really sharp. Now if I just turn off that height, if I just zoom in a wee bit by control plus, and I turn that high pass layer off, you'll see it fuzzy, and put the high pass layer on, you'll see it sharpened. So control minus, I'm just going to reduce it. Now what we need to do now, before we save that, we need to stick them both layers together. We need to flatten the layer. So we highlight the top layer, press your control key, highlight the bottom layer. When they're both highlighted, right mouse button click, come down to flatten layer. So now that's one picture, and we've sharpened it with a high pass. So we're going to save that picture now to our desktop or wherever we want to save it. So we're going to go File, Save As, go to the desktop, and it's a TIFF at the moment. I don't want to save it as a TIFF. I want to save it down here as a JPEG. So I want to save that picture as a JPEG. I'm going to call it Keyhole. Keyhole. So we're saving it on the desktop as a JPEG. We're going to call it Keyhole. So I'm going to save it. And you're presented with this box here. At the moment it's medium and it's 1.7 megabytes. If I take it all the way up to there, it'll be quite a large file, and it'll take quite a bit of room on your hard drive. It's now 8.4 megabits. Now that's quite a large file to lift up to Facebook, so we might just want to reduce it a little bit to say medium again, 1.3. That's quite acceptable. Press OK, and that's now saved it. If I just come down and down and have a look at my desktop, it's saved. If I right mouse button click on that, have a look at the properties on it, look at the properties, we can actually see it's a JPEG and it's 1.32 megabytes. It's not a massive file. So you've now took a photograph into Lightroom, done some edits on it, done a little bit of cropping, took it into Photoshop, put a border on it, put a high pass filter on it, and then saved it as a JPEG. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've been making some more. Please leave comments if there's anything you'd like a video on, you think we can help you. We will do our best.